Have you ever wished you felt more confident? Maybe you thought, I'm just not a confident person. You're not alone. What if confidence isn't something you feel? What if it's something you become? It's an identity you build. And there's two things I'm going to talk about in this video. The first one is a growth identity, which is a term I coined and you're only going to hear on this video. And a growth identity means you have a flexible identity, it's evolving, and confidence is seen as a skill, something that you cultivate with practice. The other one is a fixed identity, and this is where you think you are who you are. You don't change very much. This video is brand new ideas, and it's the first time I'm sharing them publicly, so I hope you really get a lot out of this. Most people think that they have to feel confident before they can be confident. And what I want you to realize right off the bat is that is something that will always elude you. It's like trying to find a rainbow. If you're trying to feel confident before you become confident, it's going to be elusive. Whereas if you embrace it as part of your identity, like I am a confident person, or in this scenario or this scene, I'm going to act confident, then you'll be fine. But if you're trying to wait until you feel confident, it's never going to happen for you. You're going to be waiting forever. You stay in alignment with who you believe you are. If you believe you are a shy person, that you lack confidence, you're doubtful, fearful, that type of thing, you will continue to have that. And if you tell yourself, hey, I'm going to be a confident person, or I'm confident, what will happen is you'll hesitate. You'll think, oh, this isn't really going to happen. You will stop yourself at the first signs of discomfort because you don't really embody it yet. You don't really totally believe it. Just like if I told you something about me that I didn't really believe, that's going to come across. You're going to see me kind of doubting, looking around, does this make sense or not? But when you know, hey, this is who I am, this is who I am becoming, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to know, what is my intention? What is my goal? What direction am I trying to go? And if you don't have a direction, you're going to go to the default direction, and that's the things that people have programmed in you, what you've been trained and taught, and it's not going to necessarily be for your benefit. So here, you have to realize that your actions must match the person you want to be. And if your identity is off and you're trying to be something you're not, I'm going to show you some ways you can take some steps to bridge that gap. But just realize, though, that if you're trying to do this simply from feeling confident, you're going to be waiting all day. But if you decide, okay, I'm going to become a confident person. Like if I was coaching you for basketball and you wanted to be a great three-point shooter, you would decide, I want to be a great three-point shooter. And then what would you do? You would practice it. You'd practice it. You'd practice it. You'd practice it. And then eventually you would believe, and it would be true, that you're a great three-point shooter. So it's the same with us, with confidence. And if you want to take out confidence and put in leadership or some other idea here, it would totally fit, because the idea is that you have to become it. And in order to become it, you have to realize, okay, maybe I'm not perfect right now, but what can I do each day to move me closer to that ideal version of what I want? Now, if you don't have an intention and you don't know what you want to do, well, that's the first thing you need to figure out, is what do you want? But on this video here, I'm assuming you want to be more confident, because that's the topic of this video. And so you have to reinforce what you want and move away from what you don't want. Can you rely and depend on yourself? When you need something done, can you know, okay, I'm going to come through for myself? Or do you have doubts and kind of worries like, I don't know if I can do that or not. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I have the capability of doing that. Do you doubt yourself? Remember, if you don't believe you, it's going to be hard for anyone else to believe you. Because whatever you're feeling inside, you're projecting that energy. You're projecting those thoughts, those feelings out there. Have you ever walked into a room and when you walk into the room, you can just feel like, whoa, something's off here. Like, what's going on? Well, you are like a little radio tower sending out signals all the time. And if you are having doubts and fears and worries and anxieties, those types of things, that is going to be what you're sending out, and other people are going to be picking that up. And even if you're saying I'm confident, they're going to be feeling that doubt inside of you coming out. So your actions have to match up with what you're saying, because if you are not doing that and you're waiting to feel confident, like I said earlier, you're going to be waiting a long time. So you have to say, okay, what would a confident person do in this situation? And then take the action that would match that up. So if a confident person would speak up in a meeting or say something to someone else that says, I really don't appreciate that, or that's not my opinion on this, you would speak up. If you're less confident, you're going to get steamrolled. You're not going to stand up. You're not going to speak up, those types of things. Next, I want to talk about something where you have a confident identity versus a confident feeling. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that a confident feeling is way weak and unstable compared to a confident identity. You want to embrace an identity that is full of confidence, rather than just having it be a feeling, because feelings come and go, right? Now, and a good example I thought of for this is, if you are a parent, are you only a parent on those days that you feel great, life is working for you, everything's flowing and that? Or are you a parent regardless of what's going on, regardless of if you're having a bad day or if you don't feel that good or anything like that? You are a parent. That is your identity. You've embraced that identity that I'm a parent. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be a perfect parent, doesn't mean everything like that, but you have embraced that role of being a parent. And that is a stronger identity here, and it's stronger than if you just have a feeling like, oh, I like kids. Well, some days you might not like kids. They might annoy you. They might irritate you. Those types of things. So here, I really want you to realize that you need to have a confident identity. Your identity needs to be based in confidence. And again, if you want to look at a different topic, you could have your identity based in leadership, your identity based in kindness. You could substitute whatever word you want instead of confidence for that, but it needs to be part of your identity, part of who you are, just like a parent is a parent regardless of what's going on. Versus if you have a feeling and you're waiting for that feeling, well, sometimes that feeling might not come. You might not feel like doing this or that, but when you have that identity, that's going to supersede and override that. Similar to the confident identity is greater than the confident feeling is I face challenges is greater than when I feel confident enough, I face challenges. When you look at I face challenges, that is stable, it's enduring, it's reliable, it's action orientated, it's internal, it's part of you, and it has to do with self-trust, that you can trust yourself to get this done. On the other hand here, the weaker side is when I feel confident enough, I face challenges. This is inconsistent. It comes and goes. It's not dependable. You're going to hesitate because, well, I don't feel like it right now. And it's external. It's something outside of you that needs to get it going for it to happen. And you're full of self-doubt on this side. So here the key is you don't need to feel confident to be confident. Your identity is going to lead the way, and then your feelings will follow. Professionals don't wait to be confident. They just show up and they deliver. That's the difference between an amateur and a professional. An amateur, if they feel like it, if it works out, if everything's going okay, if the weather isn't too bad, if they're not feeling down, anything like that, well, we'll do it. A professional, it doesn't matter. You're going to show up, you're going to deliver, you're going to be there. A perfect example of this is a firefighter. They may be having a bad day, they may be having issues going on. Whatever the case is, they are still going to go inside a burning building when everyone else is running out. They're going to be going in because that's their identity. That's what they trained for. That's what they prepared for. And it's not because they are feeling confident, like I'm going to feel confident and go in this building. No, their training, their preparation, their identity has made that moment come true because of all that, not because they actually feel like it. And that's the same for you. You have to develop the attitude, the skills, the preparation, the practice, so that it doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. Boom, you just go in and do it like a professional. Whatever that might be. If it's speaking, if it's talking to someone, if it's having a crucial conversation, whatever it might be that you know you need to get done, you are a professional and the confidence is going to come out and just boom, there it is. Versus like, I don't know, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I need to procrastinate. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I need to do all these other kind of things. No. Is a firefighter doing that when there's a fire? No, they just go into it. And there's rookies and veterans all over different levels of experience there, but they all are following their purpose and their mission. Next, I want to talk about a thermostat and a thermometer. Okay, a thermometer, it takes the temperature and it tells you what it is outside. If it's 32 degrees or 85 degrees, it just tells you what's going on. And that is like when you are relying on your feelings are going to tell you, like a thermometer, it's going to tell you, oh, this is where I feel, this is where I'm at today, that type of thing. So maybe you're in the mood, maybe you're not. But a thermostat is you set the temperature at 70, and if it gets hotter than that, the AC kicks on. If it gets colder than that, the heat kicks on. But you stay at 70. So that is you setting the intention. That's you setting your identity of what you want it to be. Now, that is a huge difference between a thermometer and a thermostat. You want to be a thermostat where you set your identity, you decide what you want to be, you're being proactive, creating the environment around you that you want, versus being a thermometer, and if it's perfect temperature outside, then you'll go do it, then you'll get involved with this or that. Next, I want to look at two people in history who viewed confidence as a skill and an identity rather than a feeling that they had. The first person I want to look at is President Abraham Lincoln. And if you look at his history, he struggled. He grew up, his mom died when he was 9. His dad didn't support education, and he liked to read books and that type of thing. And so none of that was really encouraged. And he had a lot of obstacles in his life. And if you look at his stuff, which I've read books on him and things, is he had depression. He had anxiety. He had things that we would think would be a disadvantage. And that would make it to be where you're not going to be confident, right? But he didn't use that as if he acted or not. He had a mission bigger than him. He wanted to save the country and unite and keep the country together. And he felt that strongly that he was a public servant on a mission. And so that identity overrode his anxiety, overrode his fears, his inhibitions, those types of things. And that was a stronger drive and a stronger pull than his depression and those things. Because he had a nervous breakdown, I think it was like in 1836. He ran for Congress and failed many times. He failed at business. He had all these failures if you look at him from the 1830s through the 1850s. Yet he became the president of the United States in the 1860s. And he didn't see all these things that were quote-unquote failures as him being a failure. He saw it as just part of the process. I have to go through this. It's no big deal. But if he would have seen the results as who he was, then that would have definitely changed the way he went forward and the way he saw himself. So the point here is that he really viewed his identity as someone who had confidence in his identity of the mission he was on, being a public servant, uniting the country, keeping it together, those types of things, versus, oh man, I'm feeling anxious today. Oh, I'm feeling uncertain. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this. He would not let that drive it. He would let his bigger mission drive it. A quote from Abraham Lincoln that captures this is, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have." The next person I want to look at who had this identity that was so strong in her was Harriet Tubman. She was born somewhere in the early 1820s. It's hard to tell because she was born a slave. Despite living in a system that was literally designed to eliminate independence and hope, she formed an identity in freedom. And it wasn't just freedom for herself, it was freedom for others. That's why when she became free, she went back through the Underground Railroad and became a conductor. And it wasn't that she was also brave and everything. She had fears, she had worries, but her mission, her belief, what she was doing was bigger than that. And her identity, which was rooted in freedom, freedom for myself and freedom for my fellow man, was bigger than any of these moods. And so when she went through this, that positive identity of freedom was enough to have her go back and forth for many, many trips to free other people. And it wasn't, again, because of her feeling it, it was because of her identity, and it was so embedded in that identity of being freedom. And I know many of us, we just take freedom and independence for granted. But people literally fought in wars to give us this freedom, and we take it for granted. So today, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do, to be whatever you want to be, and embrace that freedom. Let that freedom shine through you, like it did with Harriet Tubman. When she aligned with who she believed she was, her confidence grew. Here's some of the lessons from Harriet Tubman. You want to have your identity be stronger than your emotions, because your identity is what's going to pull you through when you need it. Next, you want to have your actions shape your identity. If I asked you, someone that builds houses and they do a lot of construction, what would you say they are? You'd say they're a builder. If someone cooks and does lots of baking and making of meals, you'd say they're a chef, right? It's their actions that show you who they are. If someone is considerate and polite and helpful to others, you would say that's a kind person. It's not that they have just kind thoughts. What really tells someone apart is their actions, what they do. And that's the same with us. Is if your actions are showing that you are becoming more and more confident, or more and more in terms of leadership, or more and more kind, whatever it is you're trying to do, if it isn't confidence, you can see, am I taking those actions? Am I taking those steps? Am I being like a builder where I'm actually building? Or am I just thinking about building and kind of pondering it, but not taking the action to be a builder? And the last lesson is we can do the same. We can take what we learned from Harriet Tubman and what we learned from Abraham Lincoln, and we can be confident, we can act confident, we can embrace a confident identity and let that be the overriding force for us. What would happen if you stopped waiting to feel confident and instead decided to become a confident person? What identity would you need to step into to make that happen? I'm going to go through 4 steps that can help you build that strong, confident identity. The first one is choose an identity statement. And again, these all need to be something that is clear, specific, but also believable. So if you are not a confident person right now, if you're like full of doubt, if you're full of anxiety, worry, whatever it might be, maybe doing the opposite of that would be too much. That might be going too far. So if I'm shy and I say I'm going to be bold and ambitious, maybe that's too much. But you can start bridging the gap. You can start figuring out what are some intermediate things. What are some things I can do in the process to fill that gap and get me across the bridge. So here, choose an identity statement. Instead of I want to be more confident, say I show up with confidence, I trust my abilities to figure this out, or I am a confident communicator. Again, these need to be specific, clear, and believable. So just find things that are moving you in that direction, statements that are moving you in that direction, because that is the kind of stuff that's going to help you. Again, it's through repetition. Number 2, confidence is a behavior before it's a feeling. You need to practice this over and over and over until it becomes part of you. Just like the firefighters practice going into burning buildings, they practice all that stuff, and then it just becomes who they are. The parent, if you're a parent, you didn't just become a parent by reading a book or something like that. A child was born or you adopted a kid and you became a parent, and then you embraced that and you learned and you grew in that role. And it's the same thing here. If you want to be a confident person, make that decision and then just keep taking steps to do that. And it's going to take practice. It's going to take repetition. Like when I said earlier about making 3-point field goals on a basketball court, you're not going to do that just by shooting 1 or 2 shots. If you're someone like Steph Curry, they shoot 500 shots a day, every day. Okay? They're doing that all the time. For you, it's the same thing. I know for me, when I wanted to learn something, I would do it over and over and over. Like basketball's in my mind right now. And so as a kid, I would do these moves and, I'd do the move and I would do the move over and over and over. And then when I play somebody, I'm like, boop, boop. My footwork was right. My fakes were right. Everything was really good because I did it over and over and over. And I knew through me visualizing that, I could see, okay, this time the person stepped this way and I did this. This time the person stayed there and I just took the shot. Whatever it might be. But for you, it's the same thing. Practice this, practice this, practice this. Now, does it mean you need to do it for hours a day? No, it can be as simple as a couple minutes a day. And I'm going to tell you an idea down the road here in this video that I used that was really helpful to that. So it doesn't have to be something complicated. You might practice speaking up even when you feel nervous. You might start conversations instead of waiting for others to start them. You might walk and move confidently. One thing I've learned is that if you look at animals, they are 2 types. There are predators and prey. Prey, they kind of look around, they're herky-jerky, they're kind of nervous, like is someone going to jump me, this kind of thing. And if you look at the predators, they're more kind of like looking around, they make their moves. We don't have lions around here, but if you watch any like National Geographic shows, you'll see the lions and they're kind of, and they go. Think about humans. Think about yourself. If you're kind of acting like, like this, you're acting like you're prey, are you kind of nervous, kind of eyes jerking around, all this kind of stuff? Or are you confident, you're looking people in the eye, you're talking face to face, you're saying what you feel, that type of thing? Are you being more of a predator? And I don't mean this in any kind of weird ways, but just think about that in terms of how am I coming across? How's my energy coming across? Am I coming across more as a confident lion, or am I coming across more as kind of a nervous, fidgety mouse that's kind of bouncing all over the place? Rewrite your limiting self-concepts. So here I'm going to look at 3 of them. The first one is I'm shy. And it might be really challenging to just go to the opposite of that. You could have some things to bridge the gap. I'm thoughtful. I listen well and observe carefully. And then finally you might get to I'm outgoing and confident. The next one is I procrastinate. Something to bridge the gap might be I'm capable of taking action when it matters the most. I focus well once I get started. And then eventually you might get to I'm productive or I'm always productive. The third example here is I doubt myself. Something to bridge the gap might be I think things through carefully. I'm growing in my ability to trust my judgment. I care about doing things well. And then finally you might get to where you really want to get to is I'm a confident person. Number 4 is having daily reminders. One thing I did many years ago, and I've repeated it several times, is I told students, I want you to think of something you want to do. Let's say in this example, it's confident. You want to be more confident, but whatever it might be. It could be kinder. It could be generous, whatever you wanted to be. And I gave them these green little dots, little stickers, like you would get at a dollar store or something. And I gave them these stickers and I said, have this mean something. Put it in places you're going to see. So I gave them all a dozen of these green stickers. And they would put them in spots they would see, like on their notebook or on their windshield or whatever it might be, on their mirror. And then what they did is every time they saw that, they would say whatever it was that they were trying to do. So in this case, it would be, I'm confident in my abilities. So every time you saw a little green sticker dot and you had it in different things, maybe it could be like you open up the cupboard door and there's a green sticker right there and you just say, I'm confident in my abilities. Now, why is this important? Because it's just random stuff all over the place, but you're reinforcing what you want. You're reinforcing what you want to have happen. Remember that most of life is getting us to go off track. Most of life is having us have negative thoughts. We're just bombarded by all this stuff. So you intentionally putting things like a green sticker to tell you I'm confident in my abilities or whatever it is that you want to do to reinforce that, you start seeing that and it starts almost having like a magical thing. So I've tried that and done that many times with several classes. They found it very helpful and they said it seemed kind of silly at first. They didn't think it was going to work. And you might even be having thoughts yourself right now, like, how's that going to work? But seriously, give this, when I said before, it's action shows what you want. Go out, buy some green sticker dots, or you could be purple dots. It doesn't really matter. But just have that, decide what that's going to mean, repeat it, practice it, put it all over the place. And then when you see it, after a while, it's just going to become who you are. It's going to become part of your identity, which is really the goal of this. The other thing you can do is have a notebook, a logbook, something like this, where you record positive things that you've experienced. So times that you were outside your comfort zone, times when you solved a problem, times when you showed courage. And if you don't want to write in a notebook, you could put on your phone and do an audio message and record those in a certain file. Or you could take notes on your phone when that happened. But whatever it is, find a way to capture the good things that you've done. Because we have a funny way of forgetting the good things we've done and remembering the bad things. So if you intentionally decide, okay, I'm going to capture these good things. You know what? I did something good today. I made that phone call, or I brought up this issue that was bothering me, or I spoke up in a meeting, or whatever it was. And then you just capture that. It could just be one little line or one little audio message or whatever it is. And then you go back and look at those in your notebook or however you're capturing this. You're going to see, wow, I got a lot of impact here. I know for myself, I have kept notes from students. I have been in a big 3-ring binder, and it might not seem like a big deal, but every once in a while, even myself, I'm kind of like, why am I doing this? What's the point of this? And I read through there, and you just get re-inspired. You're like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is my purpose. This is why I'm helping people. And so these things might not seem like a big deal, but remember, when most of the things are working against you, you need to intentionally set up some things that are going to be in your favor. They're going to help you, that the future you, the you in the future, can look back on this and get some inspiration and some motivation to do the things that you really want to do. I want to finish this video giving you a clear picture of a growth identity versus a fixed identity, because these are just critical that you understand the differences here. First, on a growth identity, this is an identity that you see as flexible, it's evolving, it's adapting, and you see that learning is how I show up confidently, that I'm learning how to show up confidently. So this is really a growth trajectory. So when you look at this, you're like, oh, I'm growing, okay? In a growth identity here. You also see that failure is something to learn from. It's not like, oh, I failed and I'm a failure. No, it's like, this happened, I got an outcome. It wasn't what I wanted, it wasn't what I expected, but I can learn from that. And then you see that effort and practice are the key to your success. So you say, if I put in enough effort and I practice this, I put enough reps in, I do enough things to make this work, it's going to pay off, it's going to work. That's a growth identity. I'm becoming someone who can, and then fill in the blank. So I'm becoming someone who can always be confident, or I'm becoming someone who can be more polite or be more observant, whatever you want to do. So there, it's like you're becoming this person. You're not necessarily saying I've arrived there yet, but you're helping yourself reach that goal. The bottom line is, you see this as something you are cultivating. If this was a garden, you are taking care of the weeds, you're planting things, you're watering them, you're cultivating this. So that's the growth identity. It's something that evolves, it's something that is, you're getting a better and better version of yourself. The person you are today is going to keep improving. And when you look back, the person you are today, you're going to look back and say, wow, I've made a lot of changes, I've improved, I've grown. And then you look at the person in the future and you're like, wow, I'm excited to meet that person. I'm excited to be that person, because you're just growing in your identity. Now the other one is the fixed identity. And here you think your abilities, your traits, or your characteristics are basically just, they are what they are. You might change them modestly, but not really a lot. This is just the way I am. If you make those kind of statements, like, are you a confident person? And you say, no, I'm not really. That's just kind of the way I am. If you look at myself, I'm really embracing the growth identity, because I'm trying to become more and more confident, more and more a better version of myself, embracing this kind of stuff, rather than this fixed identity that I'm going through right now. So the other thing is, you see on a fixed identity is you see challenges as discomfort, because you don't like feeling the strain and the stress of taking on a new challenge. It feels uncomfortable, so you'd rather just not do that. And failure is proof that you're not good enough. It's proof that you're incapable. So on the other side, on the growth side, remember, failure was just like, oh, I got to learn the lesson, I can improve, I'm not a failure. But here, you're seeing that failure is actually the reason that you're not that good. It's like validating and stamping that, ooh, I'm really not that good. And then you either have these traits or you don't. So you either have charisma or you don't. You either have confidence or you don't. You either have people skills or you don't. You don't think it's anything you can learn on a fixed identity. And then A statement you might say is, I've never been someone who can fill in the blank. So I've never been someone who can be confident, or I've never been someone who can fix these things or solve problems, whatever it might be. So hopefully you see the clear distinction here between a growth identity and a fixed identity. Are you living with a fixed identity without even realizing it? What if you gave yourself permission to adopt a growth identity? And stop asking, am I confident? And start asking, what would a confident person do? That's the power of a growth identity. I really hope you got some good things in this video. If you have any comments or questions or anything like that, put them in the comments. If you want to email me specifically on a question on this or another video, send me a question to optimizers.unlimited@gmail.com, and I'll put that email in the description. Again, I appreciate every one of you for being here, and thank you for helping this channel grow. This channel is getting close to 700 subscribers at the time of this video, and I'm really grateful for all of you. And I do appreciate the questions that you send me. I do try to include them in videos and try to share things. So the more you either write them in the comments or send me emails if you want it to be confidential, that's fine too. Until the next video, all the best.